There really was no other place I wanted to go.
Iowa has one of the best programs.
I've always been a big fan of Iowa Hawkeye football.
I just fell in love with the school.
You know, I like to say I bleed black and gold. There was nowhere else I wanted to go.
I would say that the Hawkeye community is uplifting. It takes you under its wing and launches you up.
Being able to work in a research lab as an undergraduate student is an awesome experience.
I spent a lot of time exploring my passions and interests and seeing where those activities took me, but I have found the most fantastic friends.
So many of the faculty have so much real-world experience that they can share.
Feeling that resilience that the student body develops throughout the year, supporting one another, the highs and lows, I just feel so embraced and loved.
My biggest takeaway is to not shy from new experiences. I did a research fellowship and I'm able to work on the mastodon skeleton, which has been really cool.
The most valuable thing I've learned is to not doubt myself. As a Hawkeye, you get to learn so much, and experience too. You get to apply everything that you learned in a classroom setting and prepare for anything that comes after graduation.
Kind of like a sense of like belonging and family that I don't think any other university or anywhere else in the world could have brought me.
I was able to intern in DC for a summer. I had a full-time job before I graduated college, and that would have never been able to happen if I didn't have the resources here that allowed me to be confident in myself and also like know how to write a resume.
I want to say thank you to my parents for providing me the ability and the resources to be here and go to school.
So my sisters for being my biggest supporters here.
All of my amazing friends and roommates.
Frankie and Kim and Anita. I'm so appreciative of all their support.
Thank you to my parents for just always being there for me.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. And also it'll be my mom's birthday on commencement, so I'll say happy birthday, Mom.
Thank you to my mom, dad, sister, grandparents, and everyone else that has made my journey at Iowa into something special.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Spring 2025 College of Education Commencement Ceremony. I am Dan Clay, the Dean of the College of Education, and I want to extend an especially warm welcome to the families of today's graduates. I know the room is filled with parents, grandparents, sisters, brothers, extended family members, friends, and so many others. We are pleased that you're all here to help us celebrate and to bear witness to the important milestone accomplishment of all these graduating students today. We are most privileged and grateful to have been a part of their lives for these past few years. The entire university community shares in your pride and in your happiness on today, this very special day. Allow me to acknowledge the many people assisting us with this commencement ceremony today. Please stand and remain standing as you are introduced. The sign language interpreter from Hands Up Communication is Hallie Hawthorne. Representing the university's central administration and conferring the degrees today is the president of the University of Iowa, Barbara J. Wilson. Assisting me on the stage with the celebration today from our College of Education is Mark McDermott, the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Education. And Pamela Wesley, Associate Dean for Faculty and Graduate Education. Thank you. You may be seated. In addition, we recognize all our faculty and our staff who have contributed in so many ways to the success of today's graduates through teaching, academic advising, supervising field experiences, and other services throughout these graduates' time in our college and on our campus. Whether seated on stage or before us in the audience, faculty and staff, would you please stand so that we can recognize all of you? You may be seated. It is my distinct privilege and honor to introduce to you today our keynote speaker, Mr. Brad Kelly. Mr. Kelly is a trained restorative practice specialist who's dedicated his life to the practice of repairing harm and rebuilding relationships through conflict resolution. He currently serves as the Restorative Practices Coordinator for the Iowa City Community School District, and he's worked with districts in Iowa and in Missouri. His approach focuses on empathy, active listening, and creating spaces where all voices are valued. Mr. Kelly's story is deeply influenced by his family's journey. His parents were part of the Great Migration, leaving the South during the challenging times of the Jim Crow era, before the passage of civil rights legislation. Their resilience and the rich stories of their experiences in the South have profoundly shaped Mr. Kelly's perspective and his commitment to social justice. Admired by his colleagues, Mr. Kelly is seen as a role model for his ability to build positive relationships and create inclusive spaces for everyone. His vision extends beyond conflict resolution, emphasizing the importance of preparing students for lifelong community building and understanding. I am personally thankful for the significant positive role model Mr. Kelly has been for my son and for his positive influence on my family. Please join me in welcoming today's keynote speaker, Mr. Brad Kelly.
I'm right there with you, baby. That's all right. That's all right. Bless your heart. Good afternoon, Dean Clay, President Wilson, esteemed faculty, devoted family, friends, and especially to the graduates of the College of Education 2025. I stand before you today with immense gratitude and humility, not just as a speaker, but as someone who's on a journey of purpose, echoing a collective call. Usually when I speak to people, I remind them that Mr. Kelly was born in the 1900s. And depending who I tell that to, usually the high school kids will be like, dang, Mr. Kelly, you as old as my grandmama. The junior high kids will go, oh! But my favorites are the babies. They say, that's okay, because I was born on February 28th. And I share that to let you know that when I entered the public school system in 1976, I was unaware of a broader context. Did you know that by 1972, that only half of the black school-age population in the United States was attending a predominantly white school, despite the 1964 mandate to integrate all public schools? The reality demonstrated that while policies can inspire change, the transformation of a heart takes a much longer journey. Many educators and administrators and support staff were unprepared for the rich history and culture that we were about to bring into their buildings. For example, all my family members and relatives took time to share wisdom and stories and rhymes to prepare me for being in a public school system. We would practice my numbers as my mother, my great-grandmother, and my grandmother would refer to addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. They also created lovely spins on the nursery rhymes that I would be prepared to read and learn. And I still remember and hold dearly my grandmother's rendition of Brer Rabbit. Everyone was excited about the wonderful opportunity that awaited me in an integrated school. I was encouraged to listen and learn and to remember that I am somebody. The unpreparedness I speak of was not from being unteachable, but the lack of vision to see and validate what a child already knows. I was capable. I was an eager child, often met with silence, hesitation, and lowered expectations. In those quiet moments, I discovered the most invaluable lesson that no textbooks could offer. I discovered the pain of being invisible and the profound power of what it means to be seen. I recall my first grade teacher, Miss Roberts, was the only person who truly recognized me and guided me toward a purpose and capabilities. I was a struggler in reading, and I was placed in the lowest reading groups, often met with defeat. Miss Roberts every morning would greet me, and with kindness and an affirming, she'll say, "We'll get there together." In that same elementary school, a tradition that they had was the sixth graders could go back and read to the first graders pending the approval of the principal, the sixth grade teacher, and the first grade teacher. And despite the fact that I still was a struggling reader, Miss Roberts advocated fiercely for me to return to her class to read to her first graders. I stumbled over some of the most simplest words. And when I was done, Miss Roberts, she smiled at me and she said, "We'll get there." As years passed, I held on to her unwavering belief that I would get there, and that what my family said was, "You are somebody." Years passed. Came time for graduation. I had not enough credits to enter Arizona State, which was my dream school. Yet Arizona State accepted me on a contingency level. They required me to take 2 remedial English classes. One of those courses was a reading and writing class, and I remember walking into that class and I was ashamed. My head was down. And then my teacher said, Brad Kelly, Brad Kelly, Brad Kelly. This only deepened my awkwardness of being in this class. I looked up, I saw that smile. The person that was smiling at me was Miss Roberts. She smiled at me, she hugged me, and she said, I told you we would get here together. I share this glimpse of my history not to tug at your heartstrings, but to express the power of belief and love and restorative lenses when it comes to education. She nurtured the best in me, the only teacher who was willing to see that I mattered. And she saw me as a college student while I was a child. Dr. Carter G. Woodson, the founder of the Association of the Study of African American Life and History, warned us about the miseducation, emphasizing that it starts with the children, cultivating a self-doubt and wounds that takes years to heal. That insight resides in me today. You cannot educate a mind without nurturing a spirit. When I refer to restorative lens of education, I do so from experience. Restorative practices build community. It strengthens relationships by focusing on connections, accountabilities, healing rather than punishment. They create spaces where students feel heard, where conflicts are resolved through dialogue, and where the goal is to repair, not to enforce shame or removal. The approach, when done correctly, can align with policies and the procedures to ensure that no child is pushed out or punished, and that discipline is not weaponized. Every individual along a child's educational route, from a bus driver to a superintendent, can help a child feel safe, seen, and significant. When children feel known, they thrive. And when they believe they thrive, they do. Let us reflect on the fact that we're here today together. It's not a Shaka Khan concert, which I was at. That's another story. We're here to celebrate your degree. And it symbolizes more than knowledge. It represents your courage. While some will label you as learned, being learned does not equate to being called. When you've been called, you know that you've been called to educate. Education is a remarkable journey filled with twists and turns, and while not always promising success, it will provide an invaluable lesson. You may be tempted to retreat. You may be held back by fears of the unknown and sometimes what education can change when it comes to policies. But don't shy away from those moments of unease, but instead use them as gateways to grow. Embrace the discomfort. Allow those moments to illuminate what your true calling is. Education is not a job. It's a profound vocation, which is a sacred vocation that you are answered. Now, some of you will go on to shape policy, support minds and spirits in higher education. Some of you will go on to teach in a K-9 class, a K-12 classroom. No matter where you land or what you do, remember that you will always be called to lead, to serve, to counsel, and to contribute to your communities. And some of you will go on to get advanced degrees, and to that I say hooray for you. I believe in you. I truly believe in you. And that's why I believe in the future of education. You just won't bring knowledge into a room, you will bring your heart and your presence. That's what changes lives. Whether it's a child, an adolescent, or a young adult, you will shape their sense of purpose in your presence. It will be your calm voice in a crisis, your steady hand for an overwhelmed parent, or your eyes quietly reassuring that they matter. Sojourner Truth once said, "I can't spell, but I can read." In her spirit, I share this poem. I can't spell, but I can read. I can't spell all your fancy words, but I can see on your face. I can tell if I'm unwelcome here or if I found my place. I never learned to diagram, but I can see who is left behind. And I know that being educated ain't the same as being kind. So spell success how you like, print it bold and underline. If you cannot read the struggle, then you miss the sign. Allow this to serve as your guide. People of all ages and backgrounds can read a room. They will sense your energy, your patience, your confidence in them long before they glance at your syllabus. What they perceive from you will always be more significant than anything that they will ever read as far as materials. To the class of 2025, you've been called, you have answered, the world is waiting. The children, the adolescents, the young adults, and the families, and all the communities, they eagerly await someone like you. Never forget, discipline is not punishment. It is a gentle, firm invitation to grow. It is a structure infused with compassion. It is love. It is love paired with boundaries. So go teach, go inspire, go love. Love the student who will lash out, or the parent who is barely holding it together. Sometimes validate the colleague who feels unseen. Bring your whole human, compassionate, restorative self to every situation. Please be the Miss Roberts for a child in need. Congratulations to the class of 2025. We are profoundly grateful for who you are and who you are becoming. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Each semester, our graduating students choose the faculty speaker. This semester, Erica Johnson, a faculty member in teaching and learning, was chosen. It's my honor to present Dr. Erica Johnson as your faculty speaker. I've had the pleasure of working with Dr. Johnson since she started at the University of Iowa in 2019. She is one of those people with a calm, deeply intelligent, and human presence in any meeting and conversation. She has a wry sense of humor. As a fellow teen parent in a small town, she and I have shared some space at track and field meets, and I think at IC Kickers too, maybe those fields, yeah, which I've also shared with Brad. And we also share right now the fact that we are in the process of sending our kids off to college, and so parents out there, we share a lot with you. Dr. Johnson is an assistant professor of elementary literacy education, Students in the elementary education program get to interact with her, especially in their courses on literacy instruction. Her research examines how teachers can best help linguistically diverse students read, write, and discuss text in ways that support their literacy and language development. She is also interested in teacher education and professional development that focuses on critical, humanizing, and multilingual practices. Her work has been published in top-tier journals related to literacy and language education, including Research in the Teaching of English, Reading Research Quarterly, and Teaching and Teacher Education. Prior to arriving at the University of Iowa, Dr. Johnson taught for 10 years in bilingual and sheltered English classes in Title I elementary schools. She received her PhD in language, literacy, and English education from Stanford University. I recall one of my earliest interactions with Dr. Johnson occurred when we were doing some group learning in the department where we were watching a video that contained commentary from top experts in the field about working with students from different linguistic and cultural backgrounds. When we turned to one another in a small group to discuss the video, Dr. Johnson explained that the experts that we had been listening to had been her colleagues and professors in her doctoral program. She brings this knowledge and background every day to the work that she does with students in our teacher education program. Her two children attend West High School in Iowa City, and her husband is a local middle school science teacher. Dr. Johnson loves to read, watch sad movies, and cheer on her kids. She has recently joined a cornhole summer league, truly Iowan, but can often be found in her garden doing more harm than good. I am proud to introduce Dr. Erica Johnson, the Spring 2025 College of Education Faculty Commencement Speaker.
I'm the shortest person in the front row. I couldn't see the second row of people over those diplomas. Just lower that a bit. Thank you, Professor Wesley. I want to give a warm greeting to faculty, staff, proud parents, loved ones, and friends of today's graduates. And of course, congratulations to our graduates whose accomplishments we are celebrating today. I'm honored to speak to you. This late afternoon, I want to share some thoughts about what it means to enter the field of education. And to begin, let me just say a little bit about how I found my way here. Like some of you, I come from a family of teachers. This includes my mom, my uncle, my grandfather. Yet, as a college student in the late 1990s, I wasn't sure I wanted to teach. In fact, I was determined to break away from the family business and do something entirely different. So, I attended workshops on job opportunities in banking, consulting, and web development. I spent hours in my school's career center reading up on the high-powered lives of alumni. My mother even bought me a power suit for interviews. It was hard, though, to convince myself that I had a future as a web designer, nor could I picture myself programming code or analyzing someone else's stock options. Over time, I realized that I actually did want to teach. I had been a soccer coach, a high school tutor, and a summer camp instructor, and had always felt very comfortable in these teaching roles. I enjoyed the challenge of helping people see their own potential as learners. But my commitment to teaching developed gradually. For my college thesis, I studied instruction for kids who were learning English. I spent time in 2 high school English as a second language classrooms. I observed instruction, listened closely to students, and interviewed teachers. And at the end of the day, I would return to my dorm room totally exhausted. Those who just finished student teaching understand. But exhilarated. I was inspired by the teachers who had created safe communities where their students could thrive. In particular, I was amazed to see students who were empowered by learning something new. Luis, an 11th grader, had recently arrived from Mexico. He was a genius artist, and he would often read to me his Spanish language comic books. He could read simple words in English, but he was particularly confounded by the silent E. Those of you in elementary education know that this one can be a doozy. Although I had worked several sessions with Luis on this skill, he still could not crack the code. Then one day, as we worked together, Luis suddenly wrapped his mind around the concept. He got it. The moment electrified both of us as we realized that something momentous had happened. He read the list of words again, slowly, accurately, and proudly, finding meaning in print where he couldn't before. In that moment, insight jumped the synapse. Neither Luis nor I would ever be the same. Needless to say, it did not take me long to admit that I would never be an investment banker, and the power suit would remain hanging in my closet. Although the lure of immediate financial freedom was appealing, I simply was not interested in work that did not make a positive contribution to others. I had grown up among individuals who spent their lives caring for others and working on their behalf. I could not imagine living my life any other way. So well aware that my salary would be modest compared with many of my friends in other fields, that working conditions would be challenging, often chaotic, and that teaching would never hold the status of some other professions, I entered the field of education. I never looked back. That was 27 years ago. Today, work in education remains deeply rewarding, but challenges that we face are very real, and at times daunting. It is a tumultuous, complex, and unsettling time. Never has it been more important to provide the learning environments, the personal commitment, and the professional skills that others deserve. It is indeed an interesting moment for us as members of the learning and helping professions. We must think creatively about how to access resources for the people and programs we support. We must continue to address disparities in educational opportunities and advocate for others. We must learn to manage high-stakes debates about what we can and cannot teach and who we can and cannot serve. None of this work is easy, yet all of it is very important. We're also at a moment of great opportunity. It is a time for all of us to be clear about who we are and why we are here. It's a time to reaffirm our commitment to others, to create communities of care in our classrooms and workplaces, and to build strong, productive alliances with our colleagues. Graduates, you have been well prepared to do this important work, and we look forward to hearing about the life-changing moments that you help create. Thank you, and congratulations.
Boy, thank you, Professor Johnson. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce our student speaker, Jochi Rosario Cuevas. Jochi Cuevas is a dedicated, lifelong learner intrigued by the convergence of history, culture, and society. Born in Manhattan, New York, to Dominican parents and nurtured in San Juan, Puerto Rico, Jochi cultivated an early fascination with the stories underlying quotidian rituals, international occurrences, and music. His musical adventure commenced with playing the flute and piccolo in the local orchestra until he enlisted in the military. He established a career in Army bands in multiple states and ultimately spent 8 years in Korea. More than 20 years later, Jochi's academic journey in the Escher program has exposed him to a wide array of subjects, from ancient civilizations to modern social issues, fostering a profound aspiration to enhance community welfare and intellectual development. He has consistently asserted that education transcends mere knowledge acquisition. It involves the connection of individuals and concepts. This conviction has directed him through research endeavors, interdisciplinary studies, and community engagement, equipping him to confidently advance into the future. Please help me welcome Jochi Rosario Cuevas.
Thank you, Dr. McDermott, for this introduction. It means a lot. Well, this is not intimidating at all. But thank you, Rhetoric 1030, for the great opportunity for public speaking. So here we go. Good afternoon to our distinguished faculty, Sheriff family, veterans, and friends, and most importantly, my fellow graduates. Today marks the end of one chapter that starts of a new one, a time to celebrate our success and look forward to the future with optimism and resolve. I'm thinking and feeling thankful as I stand here. I recall the many hours we spent delving into readings, discussing concepts of class, and pondering difficult issues regarding the world we live in. Finding our identities, learning styles, and ways to help others were the main goals of our voyage, which went beyond academics. I would like to thank you, each and every graduate present. Each of us has traveled a route full of work, development, and personal transformation, regardless of whether we are from the teacher education program, the ESHA program, or the REACH program. Today honors the tenacity of those of us who have had to overcome challenges, confront challenges, issues, and play to our strengths. Now, let me pause and say something many of you might find hard to believe. It only took me, in correction, 30 years, because I was graduating in 1995, to finish my bachelor's degree. That's right, 3 decades. Some people take a gap year. I took a gap generation. I joined the Army as a flute player. Yes, that's a real job. And I traveled the world, lived in Korea for 8 years, and played music for troops and dignitaries. I performed on stages in multiple time zones, but when I finally landed in Iowa, I still had no idea what to do when I grew up. Eventually, after considering everything from music education, culinary arts, or cybersecurity, I stumbled into an ESHA program, and suddenly I felt like Goldilocks. It felt right. Like I had finally arrived where I was meant to be. And ladies and gentlemen, I know I'm not the only one who took the scenic route to get here. Nevertheless, the arduous voyage did not deter me from chasing my aspirations. Our investigations reveal that history is not merely a collection of discrete events. It is a complex tapestry interwoven with varied cultures, beliefs, and conflicts. We examined the beginning of agriculture and the emergence of civilizations, analyzed the dynamics of social development, and scrutinized the tales we presume to be accurate. These lessons have demonstrated that our identities are ever developing, and our interpretation of the past influence our present decisions. I am profoundly grateful to our professors and instructors who stimulated our intellectual curiosity and compel us to engage in critical thinking. Their mentorship extends well beyond the classroom, motivating us to pursue truth, advocate for justice, and engage with our communities compassionately. To our families and friends, your steadfast support has been the cornerstone of our inspiration. I appreciate your faith in us, despite the ambiguity and the path forward. As we transition into the subsequent phases of our lives, let us acknowledge that our education serves as a formidable instrument for transformation. Regardless of whether we pursue careers in academia, public service, or whether the commercial sector, the knowledge acquired here will persist in guiding our decisions and molding our communities. Our solitary inquiry can intimate a profound ripple effect throughout society. Let us embrace our diversity and collaborate to address the issue of our era, from social inequality to environmental crisis, with the same resolve we used to academic pursuit. Our distinct experience and viewpoints enable us to innovate, heal, and lead. In the forthcoming years, when challenges and uncertainty emerge, I hope we all recall the perseverance and dedication that sustain us throughout our academic endeavors. May our zeal for knowledge be complemented by dedication to action, enable us to act as advocates of reason and catalysts for constructive transformation. Today, we commemorate our previous accomplishment and anticipate our future we are prepared to forge. I encourage you, all of you, to embody the attitude of inquiry, empathy, and courage that characterize our experience in the ESHER, the teacher education, or UI Reach program. Congratulations to this 2025 graduation class. May our forthcoming endeavors be audacious and revolutionary as the insights we acquire collectively. Thank you very much. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, Ho-Chi. The College of Education is approved to offer the Bachelor of Arts majors in Education Studies and Human Relations, Art Education, English Education, Mathematics Education, Music Education, Science Education, Social Studies Education, World Language Education, and Elementary Education. We are pleased to have the University of Iowa President Barbara Wilson with us for the conferring of this degree. Please join me in welcoming President Wilson to the podium. Will the candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts please rise? That's you. Yes. President Wilson, these candidates, having completed all the requirements for the degree Bachelor of Arts, are recommended to you by the faculty of the College of Education for the conferring of this degree.
Thank you, Dean Clay. On recommendation of the faculty of the College of Education and the authority vested in me by the Iowa Board of Regents, I confer on each of you the degree Bachelor of Arts as qualified and designated. Congratulations.
The turning of the tassel is the tradition of gesture by which each student signifies the passage from degree candidate to graduate. Please mark your new status as graduates of the University of Iowa and the College of Education by moving the tassel of your cap from the right side to the left. Thank you, graduates. You may be seated. Now I would like to invite Associate Dean Mark McDermott to the podium.
Thank you. It is now my honor to share with all of you in celebrating the accomplishments of each of our program completers. At this time, we will honor the program completers in our UI Reach program, Education Studies and Human Relations, Secondary Education, and Elementary Education programs. Please come forward to receive formal recognition when your program coordinator reads your name.
Good afternoon. My name is William Lloyd, and I am the Charles and Mary Sickup Director for the UI Reach program. On May 9th, UI Reach joyously celebrated 22 graduates. 5 of them, yes, thank you. Thank you. 5 of them are here to celebrate again in today's event. Simon Janelle. Caroline Keenan. Tyler Mum. Jacqueline Corliss. And Alexander Finch. Please join me once again in celebrating our wonderful UI Reach graduates.
Hello, I'm Professor Kathy Hsu, and I will introduce the graduates completing the Education Studies and Human Relations major. Chandler Michael Rung. With distinction. Michelle Glennon. Elise Merrick with high distinction. Emily Marie Bolte. Emily Patnode. Niyati Sriram Deshpande. With university honors and with high distinction. Deanna Elizabeth Robinson. Isabella DiMartini, with university honors and with distinction. Hetsumani Vianney Castillo. Jaden Vitan Lowe. Emma Rose Pieper. Kennedy Cheyenne Bland. Thank you. Sarah Frances Arnold. Anissa Balderas. McKaylee Kearns. Morgan Marie Simpson. Lauren Elizabeth Black. Charlie Eicher. Olivia Elise Midcath. Mary Delaney Christensen. Ella Rockwell with distinction. Please join me in congratulating those who have completed the Education Studies and Human Relations major.
Hi, I'm Professor Allison Rowe, and I'll introduce the graduates completing the Teacher Education program in Art Education. Catherine Grace McGinnis with high distinction. Maya Lynn Rose Cermak with high distinction. Please join me in congratulating those who have completed the Art Education program.
I am Professor Sam Tanner, and I will be reading the names of the graduates for English education. That's right. Paris Taylor. Ella Roop with highest distinction. Jonathan Alexander Perez. Ellie Therese Marmol. Madison Nicole Hirsch with highest distinction. Emily Lynn Kocharian. Lauren Emily Heck with highest distinction. Greta Amalia Berg with distinction. Grace Renee Martin with highest distinction. Amritha Selvarajaguru with highest distinction. Jay Page with high distinction. Brendan Forrest with university honors with high distinction. Gabriella Birding. Tony James Vandewally. join me in congratulating the English education folks.
I am Professor Gregory Bodine. I will introduce the graduates completing the teacher education program for mathematics education. Ronan Smith. Zoe Elise Olson. Emma Kimberly Spurlock. Callie Grover with high distinction. Catherine Helterbraun. How are you doing? Aiden Soikis. Join me in congratulating those who have completed the mathematics education program.
I'm back. We have one more graduate that we would like to acknowledge for Education Studies and Human Relations. I don't know why we missed him.
All right, sorry about that. Never crossed my mind.
Hochi Rosario Cuevas.
Hello, my name is Mary Cohen, Professor of Music Education. It is my honor to congratulate the graduates of the Teacher Education Program in Music Education. Ajan J. Alistair Breslavsky. Megan Marie Uden with high distinction. Allison May Liu with highest distinction. James Robert Pellini. Joshua Horn with high distinction. Samuel David Hoying with distinction. Please join me in congratulating the graduates in the Music Education Program.
I am Professor Ted Neal, and I will introduce the graduates in science education. Alexander Robert Wild. Lucas Wiedemeyer. Brendan Hayes Rodatz. Kirsten Elaine Dossel. Abigail Kleesner. Ryan Steffensmeyer. Jennifer Susanna Lane Morcia. Caitlin Hope Schaefer. Lucas Absler. Aaron O'Rourke. Please join me in congratulating those who have completed the science education program.
Hello, I'm Professor Maya Shepard, and I will be introducing the absolutely outstanding graduates of the Social Studies Teacher Education Program. Jonathan Purdy. Max Hallback with university honors with highest distinction. Zach Paulson. Sierra Mae Matthews. Jake Wicks with university honors with highest distinction. Mitchell David Winterlin with university honors. Juliet Gracious. Caitlin Ann Kuiper with highest distinction. Colin Michael Cooper. Alex Cuevas. Anthony Murphy. Noah Edwin Lefevre. Nolan William Snell. Nicholas Paul Leto. And Aaron Rogers. Please join me in congratulating those who have completed the Social Studies Education Program.
I'm Professor Seth King, and I will introduce the graduates completing the teacher education program in special education. You're quite welcome. Jessica Worley. Lauren Schaefer. Morgan Nicole Bailey. Laurel Ann Haverkamp. Anna Marie Halub. Please join me in congratulating those who have completed the special education program.
Hello, I am Professor David Degollado, and I will be introducing the graduates completing the teacher education program in world language education. Sheely McMahon. Cecilia Zen Oberdorster, with university honors with highest distinction. Molly Elizabeth McNeil, with highest distinction. Emma Mary Elizabeth Engler, with highest distinction. Sid DiZabato, with university honors. Isabel Brooke Beber, with distinction. Please join me in congratulating those who have completed the World Language Education Program.
I'm Professor Leah Plackens. This is Professor Meredith Caskey and Professor Liz Corson. We will be introducing the elementary education graduates. There are a few of them, yeah. Claudia Nicole Cassidy, with high distinction. Sophia Nims, with distinction. Laura Elise Townsend. Alyssa Brace. Madison Struby, with high distinction. Annabelle Costello. Grace Marie Studding. Maisie Rose Welter. Sari Michelle Stinson, with distinction. Gabriela Christine DeFeo. Sophia Renee Bettini, with high distinction. Quinn Niedermeyer. Melissa Alvarez Quinones. Kaylee Christie. Isabella Marina Verdi. Lily Ann Sawarik, with highest distinction. Alexis Arielana Trevino. Sorry, we practiced that one a lot and still didn't get it. Anna Marie Wagner, with distinction. Madeline Suzanne Aldenhofer, with high distinction. Darcy Ray Burnett Keller. Jane Cleary. Caitlin Taylor Durkin. Gianna Jason. Mina Marie Milivojevic. Ava Elizabeth Turnquist with highest distinction. James Siegel. Isabella Rosas with distinction. Briar Crane with distinction. Olivia Lane Gosh. Michaela Ashlyn Eisen. Ellie Marie Davis with highest distinction. Anna Sparks with distinction. Lillian Chappell with high distinction. Rachel Allen with high distinction. Zoe Scuffam with distinction. Sydney Wade. Madigan McGee. Claudia Wilcox with highest distinction. Allison Hart. Annette Michelle Solis. Allison Marie Etka. Nathan Murray. Zoe Day with highest distinction. Hannah Rain Leach. Katie Brandt with high distinction. Peyton Koenig.
Alexis Marie Cundy. Parker Marie Glenn. Emmeline Rose Scott. Sarah Marie Ladding. Madeline May Linkson, with highest distinction. Caitlin Michelle Lampkins, with university honors and with highest distinction. Audrey Grace Ballister, with university honors and with highest distinction. Brenna Ashley Hunt, with highest distinction. Elena Helene Zeiser. Julie Louise Michelson, with highest distinction. Sammy Claire Kopp, with highest distinction. Joran Louisa Herman, with highest distinction. Elizabeth Christou, with distinction. Lillian Prohaska, with university honors and with highest distinction. Gracie Hessig, with distinction. Amy Marie Middlemiss. Maya Patricia Luger. Erica Tittleson. Madison Elizabeth Younger. Cecilia May McSweeney. Elizabeth Ann Johnson, with distinction. Abby Haller. Kylie Marie Ewinger Fettketter. Mary Catherine Rupenkamp, with distinction. Caroline Elizabeth Price. Sydney K. Howe, with distinction. Anna E. Gonzalez Garcia. Olivia Lynn Meyer. Alexa Wareheim. Kaylee Sutton. Miranda Ruth Faith Mason. Please join me in congratulating the elementary education graduates.
Wow, how about those graduates? Graduates, you will now leave the College of Education and start a new profession. Working in education and counseling is a tremendous privilege, but it is also a very big responsibility. We need good educators, we need good counselors, we need people who are dedicated to their communities and who are dedicating their lives to serving our community's children. And we need that now more than ever. You have our support, you have our confidence, and you have our admiration. We're very, very proud of all that you've accomplished. We have big expectations of you because we know what a difference you can make. I look forward, as you do, to all the things that lie ahead. Thank you for being a part of our Hawkeye family, and we hope that you will stay a part of our Hawkeye family. Congratulations and best wishes to each of you. Please join me one more time in congratulating today's graduating seniors. We welcome you all to join us for a reception immediately following this ceremony on the first floor Smith Lobby and the second floor Stanley Cafe area. Refreshments will be served. Also, there's a rumor that Herky will be here at the celebration, hoping to make it in some pictures with the graduates. I kindly ask that the audience remain seated until the graduates and the platform officials have exited, and we look forward to seeing you at the reception. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon for this celebration.
Thank you.